Welcome to selfdiscoveryradio.com, where the orchard of wisdom is just ready for picking. We celebrate your why, the journey that you've taken that inspires someone else. We support your services, we support your story. Come and be our guest, become a host, be an author with us. Come and see what we've got. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Eco Solutions. I'm your host, Sara Troy, and my very, very special guest today is Renee Scheltema. We're going to be talking about normal is over. What does that mean? Well, life as you've known it is over. It's not going to be over. It is already over. And we're talking about the ecological system of what you're used to, all that abundance that you think that you can just go and buy whenever you want, all that waste that you throw out where you think you don't need to be accountable for, all the changes that are happening in the world that we're not paying attention to. Well, she's done a most beautiful documentary movie that is a shake-up and a wake-up and an invite for us to participate. This movie is so impactful. It's taken her 5 years to bring it to you, all of her money. And during that time, a loss of her daughter. So she's really put herself on the line here. This is a movie, a documentary of conviction, of passion, of true calling and urgency to bring the message to you of what really is going on in the world. And everything that is happening to us ecologically right now is happening through consumerism. When we curb our consumerism, we start curbing the dictatorship of what's going on in the planet. We're going to be talking about this movie, her journey, why she made it, why it's so important for her to get this message out. She is a documentarist. She has been doing a lot of documentaries. There will be more information on that on her page. Plus, she has now joined us on the Self-Discovery community, where we are going to be bringing more shows to you in this series, cross-interviewing with people that have actually got some innovations that are out there, the consciousness of humanity that has to change. And we put an invitation out to those big celebrity leaders out there, the Leo DiCaprio, Al Gore, anybody else out there that's a part of the Eco Solutions. Come and speak to us. We're not too small for you. We need to change what's going on out there. So let's do it together. Now, Renee is truly a wonderful spirit and somebody that really utterly believes in what she is doing, and I have such admiration for the journey that she has taken and what she has brought to us. So we're going to find out more about her why, and why this particular documentary that she had to do, that she literally put everything on the line, what this movie really is all about, and how we can not only share this movie and educate everybody as to what to do, but what we can start doing to make a change. Because after all, folks, it's not about what somebody else is doing for you. It's what you're doing for yourself, your community, and your planet. So welcome to the show, Renee.
Oh, thank you, Sven. Thank you so much. And I have a bit of an accent because I'm Dutch, but I'm supposed to live in South Africa. But thank you very much for having me.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And don't worry about the accent. We've had many heavy accent on this show. I sat 2 hours straight taking notes, completely mind-boggled with the documentary that you've done, and done so beautifully. And the people that you've interviewed, really do stand by the information. But none of it was brooms and wolves, no damning, it was an educational, a call to action, but at the same time, there wasn't any sensationalism. You let what's going on the planet speak for itself. And that was what's so beautiful about it. You just showed what was going on, and you didn't have to CNN it. And that's what's so impactful about this movie. And everybody, please, you've got to watch it. You've got to watch it with your family. It will have an impact. What compelled you to tell this story?
Let me just first tell you, last interview I told it at the very end, after an hour, where you can watch it. If you go to normalisoverthemovie.com or normalisover.org, you can watch the film from the website, or you can hold a screening or have an educational screening. I'll stop here. Why did I make this film? Yes. Well, first of all, I can look back. I'm not 21 anymore. When I was 21, I read the Limits to Growth. I read books by Schumacher, Small is Beautiful. I've always been interested in the big picture of what's happening to the planet. And I just already, 40 years ago, I found out that, we cannot have economic growth forever on a finite planet. We can grow in solar energy and in wind energy, but we cannot grow and create more products on this finite planet. We're already in overshoot and collapse mode. But I didn't want to make another film, just showing the drama, and then at the end you go home all depressed and you really don't care at all because it's also depressing. I really wanted to focus on the solutions. So I spent most of the time making this film searching for solutions on a variety of levels, because there's macroeconomic solutions, there's mini solutions, one person can make a difference. So that's really what I focused on, because the drama really automatically presented itself wherever I traveled.
Oh, boy, did it. And so many statements which I wrote down, things that had an impact on me. And it was just kind of trying to keep up with it because there was one after the other. One of the things that you said, that was said in it, and it had a huge impact, was, the planetary credit card and the bill is due. And it's how we've been kind of spending everything on credit. And, for anybody who has a credit card and they go out and they spend because they think that it's kind of free money, and then they get that bill and it's, oh my God, and the interest that's on it, because you address the interest and we don't see that. We don't look at that in our daily lives. We don't pay attention to that. But not only, has the planet got this credit card it's been using for so long, but the interest on it is something we can't pay back. And the bill is due. And it was such kind of a light bulb moment of there, is that we're spending resources before we can grow those resources.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, it's really, and it's, if you live in a city and you're surrounded by tar and buildings and air conditionings and scooters and cars, you don't realize and you get fake news. You don't realize what's going on out there. And you think, why should I care? Meanwhile, you should, because it's very easy to put your head in the sand like an ostrich. But the moment you travel around, there's really, of course you have the hurricanes, which is part of a symptom. But there's more going on. By 2050 we will have more plastic than fish in the oceans. It's the coral reefs are dying out. The analysis of the problem is what I really focused on first. Not just summing up all these dramatic issues, but connecting them to our financial economic system and simplifying that language, because it's also being kept very complicated in a way by the very economists who like to keep it too complicated so that they can keep doing what they're doing.
Yes, kind of the dumbing down effect. And it's like, while they're now kind of getting rich off the future of this planet, off the future of mankind, we don't realize that we are falling to pieces. And, it's been said for a long time, there have been the movies like Al Gore and Leonardo DiCaprio and many others out there, speaking to this fact. But, people who just look at it and go, oh, shock, and then go back to their daily lives. And we have to actually understand that consumerism is what's killing this planet. And we went into a few decades of more is better. And the more we have, the more we need. But it equaled the less happy I am. What's missing from my life? And it's because you've got so much stuff, you've become a slave to it. In order to maintain that big house, that big car, you're in credit, you're paying big interest, you're having to work longer hours to sustain it. You can't sit down and create a meal because now it's all fast food because you're on the run all the time. And we've become slaves to that, haven't we? And we're wondering why we're not happy.
Yeah, because we're all chasing after money. Money is like, it's become like a holy thing. Like, money is what seems to make the world go round. Meanwhile, money is just created out of nothing. It's just a story that we've told ourselves, and we've been telling ourselves the wrong story. And to realize that takes a big change of mind. I mean, so many people are stuck in jobs and need money to survive, and they go, yeah, it's maybe it's true, it's the wrong story, but what can I do about it? I need to feed my children. Mm-hmm. Yet, this is a macro economic solution that normal people cannot just solve. They can do other little things. They can vote green. They can watch the film for one and be informed to understand what's really going on, especially, the younger generations. I made this film for my children, who were 21 and 25 at the time. They're now supposed to be 27 and 29. Young students, lots of students are lost, even though they're clever. They feel something's wrong, but they can't point their finger to it. They know something is wrong, but they don't know exactly what's wrong. And I really wanted to make a documentary for that generation, for the future generations who have to deal with all the damage that our generation, now I'm talking about people older than 50, have caused. Not on purpose, but yet it's happened, and we need to change our narrative.
I mean, the children are going to be our future leaders, and quite honestly, we've handed them a very dirty plate, and it's like, well, what am I going to do with this? Well, it's a question of we've handed all this mess over to them, and they're overwhelmed, and they don't know where to start. And, everybody keeps looking to governments or industry to change, but we don't realize that they're not going to change because they're profiting from it. When we affect their profit with, the pocketbook, the way we shop, the way we consume, that is going to affect their bottom line. And if people are not demanding everything to do with plastic, if we're not demanding the GMO foods, if we're not demanding or the abundance of everything, and we have become satisfied with what we have and appreciation and gratitude, they're going to have to change their ways because we're not sustaining them. But for as long as we keep going along this path, they're profiting, and they really don't care about the misery they're creating. So don't look to changing them. Look to changing ourselves, which will in turn change their practices.
Yes, there's a lot you can do. For instance, if say you're poor and you have no money, you don't even have food, you can buy seeds and start a vertical garden or something. You can get together and if you're living in an area that's sunny, say let's put solar energy on our roofs or in a public garden and get our energy from that source instead of some public utility. There's many things that we you can meat is a very obvious a problem in the sense that we've been taught that we're supposed to eat meat every day. Well, this is not something that we've done for thousands or hundreds of thousands of years. This is new. And now the Chinese. I'm not blaming the Chinese, but now they all want to have the same sort of wealth standards that that people have in America or in Western Europe, and have hamburgers and meat. And it's just 1 kilo of meat. I think 1 kilo of meat costs 16,000 liters of water. And the amount of land and trees that have to be cut to have one cow graze, it's just very, very unsustainable. And we don't need that meat protein. We can get it from beans and pulses and other things, and organic, of course, food. But yes, the politicians will only listen. Like in Germany, they're quite far with they stopped coal mines, they stopped nuclear. But it's not because the politicians are that fantastic. It's because the Green Party is big there. So if the Green Party becomes big, the politicians will listen. So we can use our by voting green or by going to a sustainable bank, that's putting your money into sustainable projects and businesses. We can all if we all do one of these things, it will create a ripple effect. But we need to understand why we're doing it.
And a lot of what we're doing is just that flashy advertisement that we keep seeing on the TV that says you must have that. And you know you don't need it, but that advertisement makes it so delectable that you've got to have it. But let's just quick look at the livestock. What shocked me was 3% wild animals in the planet, 93% livestock for food. And when you look at that, it's outrageous. And not only outrageous that we don't need this, but look at the ethics behind what they're doing with these animals. It's become a manufacturing plant, just animals packed in together, fed, ready for slaughter. There's no humanity about it at all. The other thing we've got to look at, and bear this in mind, folks, if you're eating meat from these particular farms, those animals are living in terror all the time. That changes the structure of their meat, changes the structure of the hormones, and never mind all the pesticides and everything else that they're feeding them. You're eating that. So we really, as consumers, have to be more educated on what it is we're consuming. Do we need it? Is it ethical? And what can we have in its replacement?
Yes, and also the very word consumer, I have a bit of a problem with it. I do not consider myself to be a consumer. I would actually not like to be called a consumer. Just like animals are called products. Animals are not products, and we are not consumers. We are animals.
Right. But we've become consumers because consumerism is like you go out and blindly buy. There is no thought behind it. If we bought more thoughtfully, if we bought only what we need, if we bought with more understanding of where everything is coming from, I think there would be less kind of the blind consumerism. And if we don't want to be labeled consumers, we want to be mindful buyers, then we need to step more into mindfulness.
Yes, but then there's another problem. For instance, the majority of people in the world are now living in cities.
Yes.
And in these cities, there's hardly any nature. So what do you do in the weekend or when you're done working? You go shopping.
Yeah.
So it's so the whole everything is geared towards it's like let's go shopping. It's not because we can't even go to nature. You have to search in a city where there's nature. So we need to recreate our urban spaces to have more nature so that we can go there. And because the moment you're in nature and you see animals or insects, you forget about the plastic
right.
whatever ring you wanted to buy.
Yes, exactly. But we also have to understand is that, why are we buying? A lot of it is that fancy ad, you need it, or keeping up with the Joneses, or a lot of people are dealing with depression nowadays, and anxiety. And a lot of that comes from the fact that we're not in a community anymore. There isn't that community village support that we used to give each other. And,
yes.
It's one of the problems is not having that community where people, they're living in, everybody's contributing to the strength of that village. Everybody's looking out for that village. They're there to pick people up. They're there to celebrate along the way. They're there to create joy. We have so little joy in our lives that a lot of the time when we go shopping, it's to replace something inside of us. This blouse is going to make me feel good. Or this is going to make me feel good. And then what happens? It's in the wardrobe. You never do wear it, right? And because we're associating emotions with the wrong things. And instead of looking at why do I feel so empty that I need to shop to replace something within me that I'm not finding. And I think even if you do live in the concrete jungle, get to know your neighbors. Maybe even set up meetups in your neighborhood and get to know each other and, be there for each other in that support. And maybe look at how you can shop for food or for anything else in a more organic way by supporting each other. But we've really got to get back to the village mentality, don't we?
Yes, and of course the computers haven't helped. They've helped in the sense that we are globally connected and we could make a big transformation quickly, ideally, if enough people. Not everyone needs to be convinced as to what needs to happen. I think the critical mass is like 10 to 15% of all people, which is quite a bit, quite a few billion.
Yes.
who need to understand what needs to happen, and then new laws and new policies will make people move in other ways. But on a small scale, it's very hard to, especially in a concrete jungle, to meet your neighbors, because they meet all their needs with money, and so they don't need you. And I've experienced it myself in even in beautiful Cape Town. It used to be a lovely, small, normal street with small houses, and now suddenly, because it's very close to nature, I like to be close to nature. It's been discovered. First, it was supposed to be dangerous to live close to nature because the criminals would be in nature. Well, I'm a criminologist, and I know one thing, that criminals do not go to nature to find televisions or rob people. They go do that in cities.
Yes.
So now finally they've discovered unfortunately our little road, and 2 or 3 palaces have risen up, and these people are driving with their hammers, and they just go into their gates, and they haven't even bothered to introduce themselves. And I find that so sad.
I lived in Cape Town for a number of years. I was there 69 to 80 in South Africa, but I had some of that time in Johannesburg. The concrete jungles, completely opposite to Cape Town, which is such a very beautiful place. And at that time, one thing I loved about South Africa was the open party. Who's got a party tonight? Let's all go along. The barbecues, and everyone's invited. It was so much of that outdoors, let's get together. And I left before the gated communities came up, and it was, you knew who everybody was, and everybody was, interactive with one another. And that's what made it so beautiful, because it was a community. Once you start putting the gates up and, this is mine, I'm going to protect mine, that now you're kind of disinviting, that community who could be your support. The community can be your gate. You don't have to gate and isolate yourself.
Well, the only time when I met these people was when we had a power cut.
And the gates weren't going to work, right? And
I had to go out on the street to ask the neighbors what was going on.
Right. And when you put yourself behind that gate and you're so protecting that palace of yours, so many people are now living in fear of protecting what they've got. Right? And, if you live in the village mentality of like, what's mine is yours, there is the respect. Nobody's going to come and take yours without permission because you're willing to share. We've really got to get ourselves back to a different kind of mindset, haven't we? Is that, yes. As you pointed out in the movie, the DNA connection, percentage-wise, we are all connected. I don't care what color you are or where you're from, what sex you are, even what economic background you're in. We are all connected. We're all threaded. And the connection, the DNA connection, is not just in our bodies. It's in the animals. It's in the plants. It's in the earth. That vibrational DNA runs through all of us. And if we hurt one, we hurt all.
Yes. If you have a Fukushima, it will have an effect in California or Vancouver. The Earth has become tiny with so many people, and we have to all take responsibility for our global well-being first. So that was really the reason I made this film. I think whatever we do, everything we'll do, the planet has to be number one. Is it good for the planet? And then we can think about, and then the planet, I mean the animals, the plants, yes. The insects, the bees, the trees, the very life structure that supports us, because without them, we will also, perish, unfortunately.
But, there's a point that you made in the movie, which was so great, is that, quite honestly, if humanity was wiped off this earth tomorrow, it wouldn't be missed. You look at the Ice Age, you look at everything else that this planet has gone through, it's always thrived and come back. Look at nature in the winter, it looks completely and utterly dead. Come spring, everything is in full vibrancy and life again. Animals may become obsolete, and then there's a new form of animal that comes out there. Nature will thrive without us. but we
Yes.
cannot thrive without nature.
Yes. Yeah. And so, if talking about so there's a global community and there's a local community, and the way to get together is to understand. Well, you can hold screenings of the film, for instance, and then
Definitely.
understand that what you can do in your road. You can instead of having a large community lawn. Maybe create a permaculture garden and an aquaponics and all take care of it so you meet each other. And when there's no more food on the shelves, you have your own, you're creating your own food and you know where it's coming from because there's no GMO or no insecticides being sprayed. I think by you can create community projects that are helpful, or you can create a herb garden. There's so many things that you can do. It's like endless. And I try to find the most original solutions and the most important solutions and put that in the film and slowly move over towards the overarching financial economic solution, which is more for bankers and United Nations kind of people who understand the big picture and professors. That's part of a project that I envisioned that they would get together and to talk about this. How do we move away from this? No, not even move away. How can we create a parallel green universe? I mean, the current system is crumbling already, even though a lot of people are in denial. But there is no more economic growth.
No, there's only economic debt.
Yeah.
And we're paying interest
increasing.
on the interest, and we are so in debt.
Yeah, and we're indebted to nature, and so it's the climate, and it's hard for people to. If you haven't watched the film, then it's maybe difficult to understand that climate change. Of course, it's a big problem, and it's a manifestation of what we have caused, and it will get worse. But I always like to try and find what's causing climate change. How did we get here? Mm-hmm. Because if you understand that climate change is really a symptom, that species extinction is a symptom, that the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer are all symptoms of a deep problem. And I really, my search for solutions was really the search to try and figure out where did we go wrong? What is the deeper problem? What's the analysis of the deep problem? How can I simplify that language in layman's terms, so that once you understand what the actual problem is, then it's easy to implement whatever solution fits your talent or you like doing.
Well, that's the thing, is that this is, we have to point out what's going on in the world to shake you up, to wake you up. But now we invite you to participate. And the participation is introducing new ways of buying. Like, as you say, 70% women make the consumer choices. They're the ones that are, that buy the food. If they become aware, plastic mimics hormones. The chewing gum that you're eating is plastic. The amount of plastic waste is in the ocean is killing all our fish. The plastic wrapped around that meat and that fish and everything is changing the structure of the food. Once we know this, it's got, well, I don't want my family to eat this. I don't want to do that. But half the time we don't know, because we're so much buying into all that advertising, and we don't really look beneath the veil. And with your movie, you bring awareness to the fact of what is going on, economically, the plastics, the everything. But it's an invitation to, now you know what's going on. Yes, you as one person can start making a difference, and that difference starts in the way that you purchase products, what you purchase, and your own waste. Because, if you look at the waste products that we have, especially in North America, it could probably feed Africa, and if we're buying more mindfully, we're not going to waste. And if we're not wasting resources. It's just we have to shift that thinking into something that is more sustainable.
Sorry, let me just turn this off. Yeah.
And our sustainability is not something we've been taught, because we've been taught for so long, oh, there's an abundance out there. We're going to keep growing. Well, as you pointed out in this movie, and all your experts have pointed out in this movie, we've reached the peak growth. We cannot grow anymore. We now have to preserve and sustain. Otherwise, there's going to be nothing left. So it's an invitation for people to kind of be a part of that sustainability, and we have to change our ways. And there is no if, and but that if we want a future here on this planet.
Mm-hmm. And of course, there's growth in planting trees. There's growth in solar energy. There's growth in figuring out a small battery that doesn't use so many resources, and the resources that the battery is being made of should be recycled and upcycled. And there's growth in many sustainable areas, of course, but not not in
the economic growth. It's a false economic growth, isn't it? Because it's actually a debt economic thing. It's not a growth there. And we're talking about the growth of sustainability, as you said, in the replanting of trees, in purifying our water, in making sure that the water that we have is of better quality, of looking at new energy sources. And I've had the pleasure of interviewing quite a few people that are a part of that system. They're a part of that technology culture that are bringing these things to us. And again, we mustn't keep looking just to our government to support our scientists. One thing I've learned through doing this, it's the everyday man, like a woman, like yourself, who saw a need. You saw that people need to see what is going on, to understand what's going on, so you can empower them in the action they need to take to be a part of the solution. This is the same with many of the people who have now formed these beautiful, innovative technologies and solutions, and they've done it without government, without big backing. They've done it through people believing in them and getting behind these technologies that are part of the solution. So we have to look that we have the empowerment within us, don't we?
Yes, and it's not like we cannot fix climate change by shooting some rockets in the air and having some chemicals in the air. That's not the kind of technology we need. I think we have all the technology to live beautifully on this planet already. But we can. In America, is of course so dependent on cars. I just come back. I stayed in the Bay Area for 5 months this year. I just came back last month, and I did everything by bike. And boy, did people look at me in a weird way.
Yes,
they were even cross at me because there's no bike paths. There's no, and this is the Bay Area. I would think that BART would already stretch all over, but it's only going from San Francisco to Oakland to Richmond, and that's it. America can do a lot with public transportation. There's a lot to do.
Yes.
Also the corporations. There are a few corporations who are starting to understand that the resources are becoming scarce, and so they are. Some corporations are starting to play with these new models where they rent a carpet and then take the carpet back and then recycle it. Yes, recycle it or upcycle it and then sell that carpet in a different shape or form.
I think that's brilliant. Yeah. I mean, how many people, I want a new TV, I want a new this, I want a new that, and then what they do is throw it away and go and buy a new. I mean, I'm an antique lover. The older it is, the more history it has. I absolutely love that. And I've got a couple of friends that take old furniture and refurbish it and make it new again. And, we really need to be looking into that kind of thing and stop being such a disposable society. We throw away far too much. Look at how many computers are just thrown in the system. And it's where do you think all that plastic goes? Well,
for instance, plastic is a derivative of gas and oil.
Right.
And a lot of people don't realize it, but I sort of noticed that as we run out of oil, plastic is getting abundant, and it's getting fatter. It's all over. And why haven't people started to to stop the plastic factories churning out all this plastic. I mean, we need to go to the source, and of course then at shops they need to stop offering plastic altogether. Not even make people pay for it, but stop.
Right.
I mean, we all have bags. My grandmother, I went shopping with her, and we went with her handbag, and we used that handbag or that bag, and we
Or the
carried
basket,
it.
right?
The basket.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and you could use that basket over and over again. And
Yeah.
meat and things were wrapped up in a kind of a brown paper.
Yeah.
Your fish and
Yeah.
chips came in newspaper, you know.
Yes.
It worked perfectly all right for us. Why have we gone to this styrofoam and all of
Yeah.
these disposable things that do not break down?
Mm.
And this is so very important about reusable. You know, is if you go to a place to get your lunch, take your own container. Have them
Yes.
put the lunch in that container. Your coffee in your coffee mug. You know, don't keep going for the disposable. Little steps. And if everybody does those little steps, we really are going to have an impact, aren't we?
Or air conditioning. I mean, I noticed when I was in New York, it was beautiful outside. It was like 20 degrees, and then everybody had the airco on at 20 degrees Celsius.
Right.
And that's just very puzzling.
Yeah,
Why do you need?
I like the door open, you know, open up and get the fresh air. You know,
Yes.
the air conditioning goes on when it's 30 and you're melting. But yes, it's not necessary. What happened to fresh air, you know? We need that. But of course, if you're in a city with high rises, you know, how fresh is the air? You know, that's
Yeah,
another
but you
thing.
can you know, and I filmed 180 hours, and I spent 3.5 years cutting it down to 10 hours, and those 10 hours for me was it that I thought, I'm done. If I die now, this is enough. This is it's. I wrote down the narration. I typed it out, and unfortunately, nobody can watch 10 hours except my best friends and family, who watched it for 2 days and encouraged me to continue. And that's when I started borrowing money and I already rented out my house to make this film. And then I spent another 1.5 years cutting it down from 10 hours to the current 103 minutes. It's not an hour and a half. But what I had to cut out was, unfortunately, an architect in Scandinavia who looks at termites. Termites don't need air conditioning, but they have, whether come winter or summer, always the same temperature inside the termite heap. And that's because they have a tunnel underneath and then going up, back up into the ground. Yeah. I almost have to draw it, but we can create very natural systems without needing air conditioning. It's
Well, look at
really,
Cape Town. Look at some of the Cape Cod houses. You know,
yeah,
they're a lot of them are made out of clay or done, and they're thick
thatch.
walls, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
mud and thatch is very, very
exactly.
sustainable.
And
Yeah,
look, you know, 200 or 300 years old, still absolutely solid. Keep the place cool in the summer and keeps it
yes,
warm in the winter. I mean,
yeah,
we didn't have any central heating when I was living there. You brought out a heater at some point to put on the fire when it got a bit chilly. And in the
yes.
summer, you were nicely cool in there. We're making everything out of this very thin material that
Mm.
cooks us inside.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So we really have to. We don't have to go back to where we came from, but we can learn a lot from the
Exactly.
past and from the indigenous people, how to, change
Incorporate
our
it.
ways.
Yes,
Yes,
I think,
incorporate it.
you know,
Yeah.
taking what has worked for thousands of years and how can you modify it that you can actually mass produce it in a way that is more eco-friendly.
Yes.
And, you know, again, so many beautiful innovations going out there. And, you know, what I would like to see is you taking the rest of those hours and putting them into other series where you really do cover everything.
Mm.
You know, one of the things about having you on the Self-Discovery Radio is these are the interviews we're going to be doing, but it's serving the self-discovery community where we are going to be helping you raise that funding, not only to support and replenish what you've put in there because you have done this completely on your own, you know,
Yes.
supporting yourself, which somebody who's put out such good work, it should not be that you should be financially stressed because of this, but also because I want to see this more and more get out there in schools. I want to see it get out into communities. I want to see this movie be made obtainable for everybody. To have a really good look at it and form a conversation. And so, we invite people to come and help, donate. There will be a donate button right here on her page. And if you go to selfdiscoveryradio.com, you'll see the community there, and her link will be there on that page. And, support her in being able to produce even more of material that she's got there, but to get this movie out there so that it is educating people, it is bringing awareness, it is forming a conversation, and it is uniting people and building its own village.
Yes, I'm a timid self-promoter. I'm not very good at it, and I enjoy talking about it, of course, but marketing and publicity is not my forte. And so there have been quite a few volunteers in both the US and in the Netherlands who set up a foundation called makingofthefuture.org. And ideally they would be looking for funding to find a team that can help get the word out. So that because if I do Facebook, I suck. It takes me 2 hours, and to tweet is even worse. I don't understand the difference between retweet and reply, and some people, and especially young kids, they do it and it goes fast and it gets out there. And this is not something I really want to do. I prefer to get my hands dirty and into the next project and the next movie.
Right.
Yeah.
So the more we get behind you, the more you can bring us more wisdoms with more documentaries out there. So, we not only need to honor the fact of the years that she's put in this, and bear in mind she did lose her daughter during this, and that. Her name was Lisa, and she was 25 when she died, and she died 2 days after the film was completed, and I lost a whole year grieving. I just couldn't. I lost my memory. I lost everything. She lived with me. She actually helped me create the film during the editing stage. She made all the animations. She transcribed all the interviews with the professors. She would feed me when I wouldn't stop editing. So she wasn't just my daughter, but she was also my partner. And it was her wish to be my partner. I thought after she had finished her studies, she would go out in the world and work for as a creative designer for a World Wildlife Fund or something. But she said, "Mom, we have to make this movie into a movement. I want to help you." And I said, no, you have to go out there. And then after a few weeks, she just kept going. "Mom, I want to help you." And then I thought, okay, all right. Children have worked for parents, and if parents force children, it's bad. But if children really want it, then and I paid her for her work. And so she's the assistant director, and I opened up the film after it was locked, and because I already dedicated to all future generations, but now I also dedicated to Lisa, Elisa Emily, she was called, because she, there's humor in the film, and and both the children are a little bit in the film, maybe 2%. It's not about me or the children, but it's a personal journey searching for solutions. So both my daughters, I have fortunately one daughter left. They're both in the film. It starts with Lisa overlooking the burnt mountains of Cape Town when it was the hottest day ever recorded that day. And all the sounds that you hear from the ambulances and the police are all, it's no special effects. I didn't use any special effects. It's all real. Yeah. And what a beautiful gift that she gave to you, and now that you are giving back to her. And this movie will always have a great deal of her heart in it. Not only belief in you and what you're doing, but wanting to be a part of it. And that's a beautiful gift. And the fact that even after a loss like that, many people just become crippled. But that you took your time to grieve, and then it was, no, I have to continue this project because she's too much a part of it. And so, I celebrate that. And her energy and her spirit is very much with you in wanting to get this out there. So that's and that keeps me going. I mean, it's the message. I'm really about the message. This is not about me, but the message is I've had so many standing ovations that I feel encouraged to carry on
till the word is out. And ideally, I want to get the word out within 3 months and then get on to my next project, if possible.
Yes. Yes, exactly. You know, there was a statement that was made in here that had another impact on me, and is that it would take $200 billion a year to save humanity. But nobody's putting that money up front, but they rather spend $400 billion on military aircraft. I think we've got things wrong, folks. Military aircraft is all about killing. $200 million is about saving humanity. And, you know, it really is a lot to do. What are we going to feed? What are we going to demand? What are we going to get behind and not let go of? And the only way you're going to get that $200 million a year to save humanity is by every single person on this planet stepping up and saying, this comes first.
Yes, the planet should come first in whatever we do. And then I'm talking about animals and the rainforests and the little bits of nature that are left. We need to regenerate that nature. We have destroyed so much. We have 1,000 years of work in front of us, and all the unemployed can get to work and do this with a different money system. But that's maybe too specific. But
that's another show.
A dream.
Yep, no, that's another show that we will do. As we said, we're going to bring you a series, and we will actually do a show actually on the economics around this, and actually talk to the financial. And I'd love to have some of the people that you've interviewed maybe come on and explain it even more. And we will break down this movie into sections, and even be interviewing other people together who will have these innovations.
Yes.
And part of the solutions, because this is what it's about, folks. And if listening to this, you know somebody who's got an innovation out there, a system or a technique out there that you see is working, and you want to share it, this is the platform that we have for you here. Come and share it, because every drop in the ocean counts. Every ripple effect has its importance. So, you know, one very important thing that you talked about too was also our children today. We give them video games or an iPhone to play with, or, you know, watching TV, and they don't get out there and play anymore. And if they're not out there playing in nature, in the street, with each other, how do they build a sense of community?
Yeah, they don't. And then they eat junk food, and then they become autistic.
Yes, and they you know, they become lethargic, and what's the meaning of life? And they become despondent, and they're depressed, or they become angry, or they become violent. It's a domino effect. If a child is out there interacting with nature, interacting with animals, respecting the animal kingdom, respecting growing your own food, even if you, as you said, vertical, or growing herbs that you can grow in the kitchen on one wall. Having your kids help cook with you, go shopping with you, help prepare a meal with you, eat together in gratitude of each other and the food that you have, you're changing that whole approach to life, and it starts right from when they're young.
It's so much fun. I'm obviously taking the little bit of grass out of my garden in Cape Town, and my oldest daughter has a grandson, and boy, he doesn't need any toys. He loves digging in the earth and picking fruits and just being there in the garden with sand and they don't need any toys.
No, it's like a kid. You can give them all the big latest things, but give them a cardboard box, and suddenly, you know, they're a pirate, they're this, they're that. I mean, you know,
they don't need it. They don't need any of those plastic toys. No.
They need imagination, and they need the freedom for their imagination to be free. And, you know, and as you say, going and getting dirty, going off to petting zoos, or having animals yourself, or visiting farms. You know, it's all about getting out there and showing them nature and respecting nature and wanting to preserve nature. And how can we teach that if we don't go and take them out and show them that?
Yeah, the zoo is a difficult subject, but that's another.
Yes, lots of shows here that are going to be coming up on this, and you know, we need to raise that collective self. We need to look at togetherness. We need to raise a heart consciousness, and we need to do it now. And it's we're not placing blame on anyone here. Yeah, there are some financial institutions that exactly know what they're doing and they can hold a great deal of accountability. But, we as the people that are still the consumers and not just the conscious mind buyers, we've been led down that way, and we've been led a song and dance. Once we do know what the facts really are and what our options really are and how we can change our own practices in life, and you're willing to take that shift, you will actually see how your life becomes more fruitful, more abundant, more connective. And it's actually a really happy place to be, isn't it?
Yeah, it's and it's endless. I'm motivated till I die. I've always put environmental things in my films, even if people resisted it. I made documentaries and programs for Dutch television mainly, and even 40 years ago I started doing this, and people went like, what are you? In those days, green was a dirty word. You were
right.
But there's so do and that I'm not going to stop. I will try and see if I can help raise consciousness in my little way, through images and information.
And there's so many documentaries that you have made, and it's all about humanity, and it's all about what is being done and what we can do. And it's when you've got somebody like yourself that is so committed, you're so driven, this is your calling, this is your purpose in life, is to bring this awareness to people, to show them what is happening and what we can do to resolve it. We get a lot of people that are out there that are showing the earth is falling to pieces, and what they do is they form panic, or they form oh, this is too overwhelming, I'm going to shut that knowledge down. When you speak to what is going on, but this is what we can do to stop it or change the tide, now you're empowering people. And this is what you do. You state the facts, but you give the answers. And that's the beauty of it. And now it's a question of the listener, the people that are watching the movie, to realize, yes, that invitation is to you. It's to you and your family and your community. And
help get the word out.
Yes.
Because that's something I can't do. My hand is very, very sore, and I hardly have a life because I'm behind this computer. And I really would love some help to get the word out in a big way. Ideally, I'd like to get this film out like a Michael Moore film. In 3 months' time, bam, it's out in the world.
Right. So I invite that financial donator to say, look, here is this amount of money. Let's get it into as many schools and as many communities as possible. Because if you get it into the schools, especially the teens, and they're seeing what's going on, there are future leaders, there are future decision makers. If they know the facts on what's going on and what can be done, they're going to make those choices that are going to serve mankind. They're going to become the teachers to their parents. They're going to become the demanders for the change. So let's get this in the schools. Let's get this into those teenagers that are already questioning. And let's give them not only what's going on, but what the answers are, and invite them to be part of that solution. So I invite anybody listening to this that is a philanthropist or somebody wants to donate big things, not only, the support of you and what you've done, but the support of getting this movie out there, so that it can get into those organizations, get into those school organizations, and
also theaters around the world. I set up a cinema on demand system, which was relatively cheap, because cinemas are, the film hasn't screened in New York, for instance, because I just don't have the money to hire a theater there and get the press. But there are teams who are very good at distribute and at marketing, and like the team of that did The Cove, or who know how to get a film out there all over the world.
Yes.
The money would go to those sort of teams, and not to me. It would go to the foundation, and the foundation would then spend it on those teams who can get the word out.
But don't sell yourself short, love. You need to replenish yourself. There is absolutely no reason for you to be hungry while you're enriching everyone else. So remember, the abundance must come to you too.
Yeah. I would like to pay back a loan that I made, that's for sure. And
Exactly.
I spend a lot of my own money doing this. And I haven't made any money in 6 years because I just worked at this film.
Right. And in other words, you've done everything on credit. And you're paying interest, and you need to replenish that, and you have every right to replenish that. So never sell yourself short on that. And that's part of the game here too. Some of the money will go into getting it into systems. Some of the money needs to go to you to replenish your own bank account, because you shouldn't be out of pocket. I invite Netflix to come and buy this. What a perfect platform, for Netflix to get out there, and then also to hire you to take all the rest of that material and put it into a series.
Yes.
This is the thing. You've done the work. You've interviewed the people. There's no big, massive sensationalism. It's you one-on-one with people. It's you, really filming exactly what's going on. And you also, you were here in BC, Canada, my hometown, with the Aboriginal, with our Indian nation
First
here.
Nations.
Yeah.
The First Nations,
And
yes.
you had a beautiful young lady who did a song at the end of it, which we're going to close the show off with, if you don't mind, because it was such a beautiful song of invitation. And, you're talking to the people that are out there as peaceful activists and socially conscious and solution-based people, everyday people like yourself who are out there with a commitment to make these changes. And I personally celebrate you, and this Self-Discovery Radio and Self-Discovery Community is going to do whatever we can to get that awareness out there for you. And I invite other people to come and join us. So for the film, they can, it's normalisover.org. And on the community base here, you can find her under Normal is Over, under the Self-Discovery Community. And we are going to be raising funds to go to her. Obviously, the station takes a little percentage, so we can keep going and keep bringing you more awareness. But we're going to be raising those funds for her so that you can see the movie. You can rent the movie right now for it was $8 Canadian, probably be $5 US, and over a 48-hour period, and see it. But let's get it where it's in the school system. Let's get those people out there with the big money that wants to get behind this, that wants to get this message out there. You did it for Al Gore. Why can't you do it for Renee? Because I promise you, she's got more in there than he had. I promise you. You will be blown away by this movie and what is told. As I said, there's no hysteria here. There is just facts. And from those facts then comes the resolve of what we can do. And everybody's invited to this party, right?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sara.
Oh, my pleasure. And we're going to be doing more shows where we are actually going to be talking to the innovators and talking to other people that are really part of the movers and shakers, and we're going to be doing those shows together. So look out for more series that we're going to be having here under this show genre, and it will be called Normal is Over series under this genre. And anything we can do to shift your thinking, your practices, and your ability to adopt this new way of thinking. And when you think about it, this new way of thinking sustained the planet and the people on it for thousands of years. And yet in a period of like 40 years, or maybe a little more, we have caused more destruction than ever before, right?
Yeah. And the song is by Takaya Blaney, a lovely girl from First Nations who I tried to approach, but I never got any response. I don't know why, but it's a beautiful song.
We will reach out to her, that's for sure. And so listen to the song as it sings you out. normalisover.com or normalisover.org, right? Or is it themovie.org?
It's normalisover.org, which is easier to remember.
Yes.
Or normalisoverthemovie.com.
Right. And, as I said, please come and donate, come and support. Let's get this in the school system. Let's get this in communities. Let's get this in more cinemas. Let's get this on Netflix. Let's get this out in front of all media. I want this to go to Bernie Sanders. Let's make a movement, and do not think just because these other people are rich and powerful or celebrities that that this doesn't affect them too. So if you've got doors you can open, folks, open them, and let's make a difference, because it really does rely on us. So, my dear Renee, I'm looking forward to the next show that we're going to do in this series. I'm a great believer in you and what you're doing. I celebrate your journey, even the sacrifices that you've had to make along the way, and your conviction to the people of this planet and this planet is absolutely commendable. So thank you so much.
No, thank you very, very much for your support. It's all for the planet. It's all for future generations.
Well,
it's for a big. It's big. We have a bigger vision of this.
But if we don't take care of it right now, there won't be future generations.
No, I know.
And this is
and I'm happy to be a vehicle for whatever needs to be done. Yes.
Yes. And folks, you're going to be hearing more from her. And if you want to reach out to her, they can reach out and find you by what email, love?
Yeah, info. You can go to the contact page of normalisover.org, and you come directly to me. Actually, I don't have a team yet. There's the foundation, people at the foundation, but it's just set up. The 501c3 status will be there, I think, in a week. So we're good to go. And the Dutch foundation is also set up. It's just a matter of finding the right people who are willing to help raise funds for future projects and creating more awareness.
And the invite is out there, folks. Be a part of it. Every little counts. Every drop in the ocean helps fill the ocean. So step up, and whatever you can donate, so we can get this out there. If you want to donate a lot and say, I want to dedicate this amount of movies going out to this form of organization, let us know. That can be made available. And if you know that philanthropist that says they're stand for the planet, well, let them stand behind us. That is the invitation that we're putting out there proudly and loudly.
And they can put their name on the website, or I can open the film and put their names there if they like to have their names attached to it. Everything is possible.
Exactly. And it's good to let people know that this is what you support. So stand tall for something and stand proud. So thank you so much, Renee, my love. Until the next one.
Thank you, Sara. I very much appreciated this talk. Thank you for your time.
We've only scratched the surface, folks. There's so much more to come. And remember, you are part of this solution. We are giving you the invite. You can download the movie for $5. Watch it with your family. Have a conversation. Please, I promise you it will change your life. I promise it will change your approach to things. This is no scare tactic. This is no over-sensation. This is reality of what's going on and what we can do to change the tide. So until next time, folks, bye for now.
Species, restore ecosystems, and to reconnect money to nature for our children and for all the generations to follow.
Shallow waters I can't see your clear waves lapping at my feet. Lifeless ocean, black, not blue. I
Welcome to selfdiscoveryradio.com, where the orchard of wisdom is just ready for picking. We celebrate your why, the journey that you've taken that inspires someone else. We support your services, we support your story. Come and be our guest, become a host, be an author with us. Come and see what we've got. Our next show is